We use the word every single day, but have you ever wondered where it comes from? And, more interestingly, how far its family really goes? From Romance languages to Slavic ones, this word has relatives that might truly surprise you. Welcome to this series on the origins of English words and their relatives in Russian and Spanish. If you're learning Russian, there is a bilingual version of this episode, in Russian and English. I'll leave the link in the description. My name is Katya, my last name is Zaitseva, I'm a linguist and a professional teacher of Russian. Let's begin. So where do the English word and also the German word Wort, where do they come from? It turns out they go back to a very ancient root, the Proto-Indo-European root ver. Ver basically meant to speak. In Latin, the same root developed into the root verb. We find it in the Latin word verbum, which meant a word. And today we have the grammatical term, a verb, that comes from this word. And besides, in English, in Spanish, and even in Russian, there is an adjective verbal, which is associated with words. That's what we have in the Romance languages. But what about the Slavic languages, for example, Russian? Do we find that ancient root ver there too? In Old Russian, there was actually a verb, vrati, which literally meant to speak. But over the time, it changed its meaning, it narrowed it down, and now it means to tell a lie. But it's even more curious to find it in another word, the Russian word for doctor, vrach. The explanation is the following. Centuries ago, medicine was associated with magic. So the people who practice medicine not only used remedies, but they also used special words like spells. So the name of the profession was basically the talker. Vrach. That Slavic part was pretty unexpected, right? But probably you will be even more surprised when we look at the word truth and its relatives in both Romance languages and the Slavic languages. In English, the word truth is connected to words like trust and even tree. And the obvious question is, what does tree have to do with truth? But it actually makes total sense if you look at the origin of the word truth. It goes back to an ancient Proto-Indo-European root dreu or deru. That root meant something solid, steadfast, firm. And that same root shows up in both English and Russian. In Russian, the root dreu gave the word drevo. In modern Russian, we say дерево. It means a tree. And in English, dreu gave us the word tree, because a tree is literally something solid and firm. And the word truth is basically a metaphor built on the same image. Something solid, something unbreakable. And from there we got the word trust. And that's why trust is also connected here. If something is true, it feels firm and therefore worthy of trust. Now, the Romance languages have this root as well. In Spanish, for example, you can hear it in the word duro, which literally means hard or firm. And also in the verb durar, to last. Because the idea here is the same. Something is strong enough to be able to last. And here goes a fun twist. This root came back into English again through the Romance languages. That's why modern English has the word during, which literally means while something lasts. Or the verb to endure, which actually implies being firm enough to be able to overcome an obstacle. Alright, since we looked into the origin of the word truth, it feels only fair to explore the meaning of the word lie. When you look at the English word to lie, the German word lügen, and the Russian word lgать, you can see the similarity. And it's not a coincidence, they really are related. Both the Germanic languages and the Slavic languages trace this root back to the Proto-Indo-European root leug, which meant to lie. Now, here's an interesting fact. Linguists do not find this leug root in Latin. Latin used a different Proto-Indo-European root instead, the root men. But that root is not associated with lies, it's actually associated with the mind. That's why in Spanish we have the word mentir, which comes from the word mind in Spanish, mente. So the logic is clear. A lie is something that does not exist in objective reality. It only lives in your head. And by the way, if you think that the Spanish word mente looks related to the English word mind, you are absolutely right. They are part of the same family, descendants of that root men. By the way, Russian has it too, but in a shorter form, just mn. two letters M and N. We find it in the word мнение, opinion, and in the verb мнить, to think too much of oneself. And that's all I have for today. This episode turned into a bit of a linguistic detective story. Let me know in the comments if there's any word that you would like to explore. And if you are into the history of the words, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next episode.